Hey guys, Wraithcrew here. Welcome to the definitive and complete Ashe guide. In this guide, we will cover everything there is to know about Ashe, from her playstyle to abilities to synergies with other characters. Since season has dropped, I've only played Ashe, and I've played her in pubs, ranked, and even competitive settings such as tournaments. I've managed to accumulate over 2,000 kills on her as of making this video, and I've consistently held top 20 kills worldwide on PC since her release. This guide took quite a bit of time to complete, so if you appreciate the guide, subscribing would be very appreciated, especially as I'll be uploading some more Ashe related content to the channel in the future. I also stream almost every day on Twitch at twitch.tv/wraithcrew, so you can see how I play live, and if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me there. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the guide. Ashe is a character who complements an aggressive playstyle. When she was revealed as the next legend, many people speculated that it would be the end of Wraith mains, while I think this is very far from the truth. Ashe complements a playstyle that is much more similar to Octane rather than Wraith. Once you make an opportunity, you can close the gap from a great distance and do coordinated pushes with ease, while Wraith is much more flexible in situations where you want to play safe and rotate to certain areas with a bit of personal utility. While I'm a Wraith main who will also enjoy playing Ashe in the far future, I don't believe this will be the case with the majority of Wraith players. With those expectations in mind for her playstyle, let's start this guide off by looking at her abilities and explaining them one by one. We'll start with Ashe's passive, Marked for Death. Her passive allows for her to see death boxes across the map, and it also lets her interact with these boxes to reveal the attackers. This passive is rather powerful because it gives you so much raw information about where fights happen, and it can act as a cheap scan in certain situations. You can use Ashe's scan very similarly to the way you use Crypto's map room. It doesn't tell you exactly where the people are, but you can infer their positions and where they might want to rotate into ring. For example, if you see a team end a fight near a place where there's crafting, you may infer that they might stay there to craft if they need supplies. Additionally, you can use the information to try and stay one step ahead of teams. If a team takes a fight out of zone, where are they going to rotate to? What are the possible avenues that they're going to plan? You might be able to use this information against them and zone camp them or hold them in a good position, where otherwise you normally wouldn't know where they are. In pubs, Ashe's passive is a great tool to utilize to get high kill games. You can tell where fights are happening and you can go push those people where fights are at, and you can keep finding people no matter what. It's very easy to rack up high kill games with Ashe. In a competitive or ranked setting, Ashe's passive is very useful to figuring out where every team is. Figuring out where every team is a great asset to you, as you can figure out where your team needs to play, or where you can get free kills and eliminate teams from the game as soon as possible. While you can scan boxes at any time, they only appear on your map for up to 3 minutes or 180 seconds. Looking at the icon before you scan, for example, this shows that the attackers are alive, while the skull shows that they are dead, and it will ping their death boxes instead. Alternatively, if some members of a team died and haven't gotten respawned, it will ping both the death box and the person who is alive. This can be indicated with an enemy ping as well as a death box ping. I like using the death box scan as a cheap Bloodhound scan. It doesn't tell you permanently where the enemies are, but it gives you their positions as you scan the death box, and it lets you know vaguely where these enemies are. Just be warned though, it does tell you when you've been scanned by an Ashe, and therefore your enemies will know that you're there. If they've only fought one team, they will know it was you and they will know your exact position. Smart teams can estimate where you are based on the areas they've fought in, and they might try to come push you, especially if you're a solo. So there is some risk to scanning these death boxes, but you can judge it yourself accordingly. Up next is Ashe's tactical, Arc Snare. Arc Snare is a slow-moving projectile that binds itself to the first surface or person it comes across. If it snares an individual, they are tethered to the center of a small area for around 3 seconds and take 10 damage, which is doubled against shields. If the snare instead hits a surface, it sticks to the surface for 5 seconds and snares any enemy that comes within 4 meters of it. It has a 25-second cooldown. Arc Snare greatly inhibits movement when trying to exit the circle that it binds its target to. Players can't run out of its radius without certain movement abilities, and they have to remain within the snare for its duration. Octane can't stim or jump pad out of the snare. Pathfinder's grapples get disrupted, causing him often to not go where he wants to, or go there much slower. Loba, Wraith, and other Ashes can leave the snare using their abilities. Uniquely, Horizon is virtually unaffected when she uses her lift. It's worth noting that Arc Snare does not stun enemies if they don't try to leave the circle. Smart players will remain within the center of the circle and can still fight back. It does not grant you a free kill if you try to push them. Whereas lethality comes in is when you combine it with grenades or other abilities. For example, you can throw grenades on an Arc Snared opponent and they can't run away from the nades, if you time it properly. How you use grenades against Arc Snared opponents is up to your imagination, but you can do some very clever things such as throwing sky nades, using thermites, and zoning off opponents in ways they might not expect you to. Probably the most commonly used way that Arc Snares get used is as a zoning method. You can throw Arc Snares behind you to ensure that an opponent doesn't push an area, and if they do, you can easily punish them. But if you're running away from opponents, you can throw Arc Snares against doors, walls, to ensure that they don't chase you, and even if they do, you can still get some distance. You can also use Arc Snare to try and secure kills behind cover. The hitbox is somewhat big, although you have to be accurate with it, to where it can snag kills from enemies behind cover such as rocks, barrels, or even some ledges. We all have those situations where we beam an enemy for 190 and we can't get that last 10 damage off on them, but Arc Snare can provide that to you. Arc Snare has very little use outside of combat. The best usage you can get for it is scouting behind small pieces of cover where enemies may be hiding or trying to play, or you can even use it just to poke down at enemy shield meds and try and drain them of resources. Other than that though, I wouldn't try to use Arc Snares in any great capacity and focus on your gun. Finally, for my favorite part of Ash's kit, her ultimate. Her ultimate allows you to place a one-way portal with a horizontal range of 65 meters with a cooldown of 2 minutes. Her portal only lasts for 15 seconds, however, having a brief lifespan. You may have noticed I said horizontal range. Well, Ash's portal can be placed on almost any vertical distance, the only limit being how far up you can see. The ultimate snaps to ledges and objects around in the terrain, so if it can't see the ledge, you can't teleport up to it. However, you should be able to teleport up to most heights, assuming you're at an angle where you can see the ledge. This makes Ash's portal an extremely versatile tool when it comes to pushing teams. In previous situations where Jump Pad couldn't reach, you can now instantly teleport there with much less vulnerability than Jump Pad could take you. There are several uses for Ash's portal, the strongest of them all being a full team reposition to engage in a fight, or a full team reposition into a strong position within the ring or somewhere you have to play. As you can see in this clip here, my teammate called out that she did big damage to the Gibby, and so I ported into his bubble to directly contest him, and from there, my team also followed up and pushed in with me. This is the greatest way to use Ash's portal, and it lets you be very, very aggressive. Another very strong use of Ash's portal is to reposition into an off angle so you can crossfire against an enemy team. This works in several different situations. If you're trying to make an opening for your team to push, or even if you've already made an opening, you can teleport behind where the enemies are in cover and shoot them in the back after you've already cracked one or have done some damage. If you're familiar with playing Wraith, you will understand that our portals can be used against enemies very well, especially if you get chased. You can use nades or shotguns or anything of that sort to outplay enemies. With Ash, it's a very similar story. If an enemy chases you through a portal, they can't go back, so they are absolutely dead. In this clip here, this Octane chases me through a portal, and I pre-throw the arc expecting him to chase me, and he falls right into my hands. I also find myself using Ash's portal to simply just traverse the map around to get to hotspots and fight people faster. While I don't necessarily do this as much in ranked, unless we're trying to rotate for a certain spot in ring, in pubs this is one of my most common uses for it. So I wouldn't be scared to use it very similarly to the way you'd use Octane Jump Pad to possibly get in a fight sooner. You can also use Ash Portal to save your life in situations where you're getting ticked by a thermite, or to save yourself from getting EMP'd, or a situation like that. However, in my opinion, this is the weakest way to use Ash Portal, as you should anticipate these events happening anyway, or just try to play around them. However, if you go down and the fight suddenly becomes a 2v3, it's better to use your ultimate and survive to fight a 3v3 rather than just die with your ultimate and do nothing with it anyway. It's also worth noting that you can teleport through windows with Ash's portal, as you can see in this clip by Diego, where he knocks one and uses the opportunity to capitalize and port through the window on top of the team. You can also use Ash Portal to bait people to drop down on you. As I said earlier, there's no verticality limit to the portal itself, so if you can drop down the low ground and have your portal be suspended mid-air, teams can't chase you. They are on the low ground, you are now on the high ground. As you can see in this clip here, that's exactly what this Ash does as soon as a full team of 3 start pushing her. She now takes the inside and gets to live for a little bit longer. Will Ash see play in higher levels of Apex ranked and competitive? It's difficult to say for now, as we're only 2 weeks into the new season, but as she's currently being experimented with, we know that she will at least be played with teams who favor aggressive comps such as Ash, Bloodhound, Gibraltar. I still think that Octane would be preferred to be paired with Revenant rather than Ash, as Ash's portal disappears too quickly for multiple uses, so if you get sent back, you can't capitalize off any knocks or big damage you traded. However, Ash crypto teams might rise up, as you can capitalize off of EMPs quicker than you normally could with Jump Pad. If you're a no-fill or a solo player, I would not recommend you to play Ash. Octane or Wraith have much better suited kits for solo players, as Ash's kit provides nothing in terms of mobility or disengagement until you have her portal, which can't be used multiple times and you can easily be chased through it, as opposed to Wraiths where you can go back and forth even and block off things such as doorways. If you're looking to play Ash in your coordinated ranked games or competitive settings, I would advise that you play characters who can typically be aggressive with Ash. As I said earlier, Gibraltar, Bloodhound, Ash are good, perhaps Crypto might be good, even Valkyrie might be good for repositions into fights. If you do end up playing a comp with Ash, you will want to play the edge of the ring, where you can take many fights. Ash's kit is not very well suited for sitting in a building until very late game. You want to be confident in your gun skill and your ability to knock enemies, especially as that is your primary job as Ash. You are a duelist, you should be able to get these opportunities and chase knocks down when you need them. Very similar to Pathfinder. You can get in and get out and get angles on enemies and create these openings for your team and even secure fights, sometimes entirely by yourself. Well, that's the end of the Ash Guide. I hope you learned something from this, and I hope this video was clear and informative. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to leave them in the comments below, but the best way to ask me would be to go to my stream at twitch.tv/wraithcrew or join the Discord at discord.gg/wraithcrew. I'll be answering any questions I can at any point, and if you want to see any gameplay, you should go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel, or even go catch me on Twitch, where I stream almost every single day. That's all I have for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. 69! 46! I'm fucking insane, actually. Holy shit.